Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Ladies Fashion Showcase. Yes, finally, we're back. Everything's working now. How are you doing, Mel?
Hopefully we're back together again and then technically sound, but it is a Mel ball and I am recording Paramindful after this, so be prepared for stuff to already start happening. How are you doing, my friend?
I could be doing better. I know it's been a while since we've been live. I do apologize. It's been mostly my fault, not Mel's again. But you know, the day we were supposed to do it, I had the panel, so I couldn't do it because I was out of town. But a lot has been happening, so I'm glad we're finally live when we have no technical difficulties today. We finally
Yeah.
get to do it, which is ironic because when we had planned this out for 2 weeks ago, we had a certain number of topics that we had planned out, and then at this point so many other things that happened that have updated our
Mhm.
plans. Like, I don't want to say in a good way, but it just brought up so many great conversations and discussions that I figured us as female wrestling fans, we should be able to speak up about more than anybody. But
Mhm.
it's just interesting to see how it changed from like 2 weeks ago to now. I'm like, we know it's wrestling and things change so quickly, but this is definitely
Mhm.
not how I expected it to go. But I figured I will start off with well, you have plenty to talk about today.
Yes, yes. So today I wanted to start with a topic that we had a few weeks ago. So it's a little older, but Mina Shirakawa and Mariah May captured the Goddess of Stardom championships, and this is Mariah May's first title in Stardom. I wanted to congratulate her, but also it's her birthday
Yay!
today. So happy birthday to Mariah May there, the fighting princess. If you don't follow her on YouTube, I highly recommend you give her a follow at it's a Mariah May X. She actually has posted a couple blogs about her recent move to Japan, so you want to check that out. Give her a couple views. It looks so cute. I want to go to Japan so bad. And both Mina and Mariah May are participating in the five-star Grand Prix currently. I haven't seen Mariah pick up a win yet, but Mina Shirakawa managed to capture a win over the Wonder of Stardom champion, Mirai. So we're going to see how that kind of turns out there. But that was that first topic I wanted to bring up there. Did you have anything you wanted to say about that, Astrid?
Hello, Ed. Yeah, more than anything, happy birthday, Maria. Congratulations. I know, like, she's one of those people, like, I've been seeing her more and more often on my social media with everything she does with Stardom and her TikToks with the girls backstage and everything. I just love her energy more than anything. So, just really happy for her, like, her to be improving so much and just starting off winning up a championship now, too. So, I hope it just keeps going with that momentum she has right now because I love it already.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I believe I gave you my login to check out Stardom there. You
Mhm.
definitely got to check out her match against Sayoriano. It was incredible. Sayoriano is more of a technical kind of wrestler. Mariah kept up with her so, so well. It was very, very good match. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I like that how I heard about her every now and then, but now how it's been. I feel like she's such a highlight of Stardom now because every time I just see
Mhm.
her after the shows happen on my social media, just celebrating with the girls, everything that's happened to them. So it's nice to when you see people like this get that success and just to think this is a starter
Mhm.
for her. I'm just very happy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She's a little ray of sunshine there at Stardom. I love seeing her. So much personality, so much charisma.
Yeah. I figure we'll move on to something that's happening later on this month, if I'm not mistaken. I hopefully didn't get the wrong date, but I know I making an impact has been on a little hiatus, but I still watch Impact every now and then. And one thing that we have going on for this month is that we have the crossover Multiverse United pay per view, which has been really excited because even though they haven't announced a women's match officially yet, the first tease that we got was Diana posting a video on their Twitter account just basically calling anybody out who's gonna accept their challenge. So I think it's really interesting because I would like to see that happening at the Multiverse United pay per view. So just
Mhm.
interesting. I'm like, she opened the doors. So far, nobody has answered. I think New Japan retweeted it. So far, nobody has said anything. So just wondering from your side of your team of New Japan, who
Mhm.
would you like to see face the virtuoso Diana Porrazzo?
Well, as I mentioned, the five-star Grand Prix is currently happening and will be happening until September, and it is actually happening the weekend that this show is happening. So any kind of Stardom women who are either potentials for the NJPW Strong Championship or the IWGP Women's Championship are going to be in
Mhm.
Japan. I obviously kind of feel I personally, because Utami is going to be facing Mayu Iwatani for the IWGP Women's Championship very soon. I was like kind of crossing fingers and kind of hoping that maybe Utami can dethrone Mayu and be that person to come over because she was here recently. So it would make sense that people kind of know who she is. But that being said, Andre, I mentioned this to Andre, And he did some digging, he did some checking, he did more math than I did because Lord knows Melball can't do math. Um, he found out that the weekend that this show is happening, the time that this show is happening,
Yeah.
the NJPW Strong Champion,
Mhm.
Julia, is currently not booked to be
Mhm.
working any of those Grand Prix shows. So to me, that says that we might be potentially seeing Deanna versus Julia, which is actually my personal wish.
Mhm.
Just with that technicality that Diana is known for, Julia is kind of the same way in Japan. And I feel that both of them have that kind of sassy attitude that I think both will play off of so well and will end up creating an incredible match and an incredible show all around. Astrid, what do you think?
You definitely took my pick too. That was my person. I was thinking, we had the New Japan presence getting involved with AW there for a bit now. So
Hmm.
I was wondering, it's like, how would that go if they got involved with the Impact though this time around? And it's like I can just imagine the headlines being Diana versus Julia, the NJPW Strong Women's Championship match like that, and just
Hmm.
thinking like, to me that's already interesting, especially having the New Japan Strong Championship on the line with somebody that's not from AW, and it's in kind of like in a home base of Impact in the US here. So I think that will be super interesting to think about. It's like if they do advertise it, and we have Ed here agreeing with us too.
Good choice, Ed.
Yeah,
Good choice.
I definitely think it's just interesting timing because I think that will be something I would like to watch, and I
Hmm.
just think it'll open the doors for people to see Julia in in the US because we really haven't seen that from her. So I think that will be a great way for her to get that platform because I to me this is just another way to introduce her to and introduce the fans to all these talents that we usually don't watch. So I think this is a great opportunity for her on that aspect as well. I'm like,
Hmm.
maybe it'll open the doors for her to be an Impact more often, even if she's not contracted, but just kind of having those like special appearances every now and then, which I think will make it super interesting for
Hmm.
Impact as well. And not only that, but I'm thinking that's probably it could be the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. But I'm like, we have Trinity as Knockouts champion. And I'm like, will we have the Knockouts championship on the line? And who's gonna go against Trinity? I was like, it just like I feel like they could do at least two, maybe three women's matches, maybe one that's non-title, and two with the championships on the line. So I think that would be interesting way to go on the card. Still, it's like I'm just surprised they haven't really built up. I think they only announced maybe one match I just saw, I think today or yesterday,
Hmm.
TMP I think versus the machine guns, I believe it was. I think that's the only match I've seen, maybe, or the second match I've seen on the card so far. So one or two matches have been announced. So I'm definitely interested. Obviously, they still have time to do advertisements and teasing us this way, but I want an answer already, please.
Hmm. I ask because I don't fully know. Is ROH kind of under that umbrella of AEW and Impact also?
The ROH will be under AEW more than anything, so that's
Okay.
how it will
And,
go right
and
now.
like again, AEW, Impact, and ROH, they're all kind of headed by Khan, right?
Not Impact, just
Not Impact?
ROH and Ring of Honor. I mean
Hmm.
AEW. From what I see, I'm trying to see. And saying two or three is asking a lot. We started having an attorney at the same time.
Yeah, that
Mm,
creates a problem. But what kind of triggered me when you said that, though, is Julia is the leader, the captain of Donna Del Mondo DDM in Stardom. Currently, they only have four members, including Julia, and that's Julia, Thekla, Micah, and Mai Sakurai. Is this an opportunity for potentially, because as we've seen with NJPW factions, we have Aussie Open as a part of the United Empire. We
mhm,
have Jay White and Juice Robinson, a faction of the Bullet Club.
mhm,
We have little pockets of factions kind of spreading across
mhm.
companies. Could we be seeing Julia maybe coming over and establishing a Donna Del Mondo United States faction while she's here? Maybe this is a potential opportunity for her to, what's the word? Why am I not thinking of it right now?
As you like to say, the excursions.
Uh, Scout. Scout. This is
Sort
a
of.
potential time for her to scout out new members for
Yeah.
DDM. And yeah. Yeah. Hmm. That was something I hadn't thought
Yeah.
about. Now I have to have a conversation with Andre.
No, you definitely do. I think I'm gonna see if I upload it correctly. But I found what I have what they have announced so far for the card for multiverse. I'm
Okay.
hoping I upload it correctly here. There we go. So we got Leo Rush and Trey
Oh.
Miguel, yeah, versus Takahashi and Mike Bailey. That's one. This is probably gonna be
Oh.
the main event. And then we got this is the one. So it's TMDK versus Musa and Eddie. I thought it was the Machine Guns, but it's Musa and Eddie. So we have three matches announced so far. So that's interesting. And so
Yeah.
I gotta have a couple with Andre tonight. You're not the only one. But
Yeah.
yeah, so far
That last
three
one,
matches, and then the Diana tease is what we have so far. So whoever answers
interesting.
Diana's, so four so
It
far.
makes me happy to see Takahashi again, Hiromu Takahashi. He's one of my personal favorites. So it's nice to see him again. Him and Rush, they have great chemistry, and I've heard very good things about Trey Miguel. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel that Hiromu will have a very very good exchange with him. Mike Bailey always a favorite. I mean, he's
Yeah.
local guy, well, Canadian local
Who's
anyway.
here? Hello,
Hi,
Bobby.
Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby, who
Oh, he
had me
must
on
be
last
done
night.
his second-hand
And yeah,
gaming
stream.
today.
Yeah, he had me on Ring Respect Radio last time with Papa Smoke. So I got to meet Papa Smoke for the first
Yes.
time last night. But this is when the discussion really started on screen about the maybe women deserve better hashtag, and then we want equality hashtag as well.
Mhm,
And that's at
mhm.
his time. It's like about our dinosaur this week. I saw that. That literally just made me laugh
He
when I saw
did.
that clip.
He did. I had the privilege of retweeting that earlier too. Yes, yes, that was
Yes.
fun. And I mean, more realistic, right? I mean, more believable than the blow up doll, right?
It's true.
Ah, the Tanahashi match I'm concerned about, just because with the G1, he has been a little stiff. He's been a little slow. Alex Shelley is like really, really good condition. Like he recognizes he's getting a little older, but that guy can still move like a mamma jamma. Tanahashi's very stiff. I'm very concerned about his knees. That being said, though, he has been pulling out a few new moves in the G1, so that's something that maybe Shelley needs to be aware of. That tag match is going to be insane.
Yeah.
I Moose is kind of the weird one to me in that kind of
Yeah.
thing because like Zack Saber Jr. is tall, but like if he gets in the ring with Moose, Moose is going to muck him up something fierce. Haste though, Haste I feel could be a
Mm-hmm.
good kind of counter to that maybe.
Yeah.
I know Andre will be all over that. He's a huge
Mm-hmm.
TMDK supporter, and he especially loves Zack Saber Jr. and Shane Haste.
Yeah.
So he'll be especially excited to see that one. That looks like a good show setup so far.
Yeah, so that we got so far that like I said, those three, and then Diana teasing us with somebody
Yes.
answering her challenge. So far we have technically four matches for multiverse at the end
Mhm.
of the month. So I feel like it's
Um,
a pretty good start so far.
Yeah, I'm 99.9% certain that it's Julia, and I'm here for it.
No, you don't. Don't lie.
Sir.
Happy for Shane any day.
Ay, ay,
Eh,
ay.
yeah, but anyway, I'll let you talk
Mhm.
about the next topic you wanted to discuss as well today.
Yes, yes. My happiness and my sadness was in this next little topic. My personal favorite active female wrestler in professional wrestling right now, Utami Hayashishida, just completed her U.S. tour, first U.S. tour coming in for GCW and JCW. She had about three, four opponents if we include the pre-taping on ROH, which is where my sadness came from. If I had known if they had advertised anything and let a Mel Ball and Andre know, we would have probably brought at least a car full or a second car full of people down to go see that show in Calgary. It was 4 hours away. I was 4 hours away of potentially seeing my favorite wrestler live. Tony
But
Khan, do better. I know you have an advertisement team for this. Come on. But back to the matches. I always forget the first girl's name. I always know her face though. I believe the name is Janai Kai. Um,
yeah.
had a phenomenal striking contest with her.
Mhm.
Just absolutely insane how Tommy was able to flex her power. Billy Stark's another one, and this was another fun match because Utami got to do a completely different style. We saw Utami wrestling more of a wrestling match as opposed to doing her just straight up power stuff that we saw with Janai Kai. And then the last match that I had the privilege of seeing was against LuFisto. And this was a very interesting, solid match for me because we got to see the combo of Utami coming in there, of the power and the straight up wrestling, matching that straight up power of LuFisto and that just experience of LuFisto. I really, really enjoyed seeing these matches, and I really enjoyed reviewing them with Andre. You can also, cheap plug,
Yeah.
catch our reviews on Utami's matches on Andre and Melbo's Wrestling Talk. We had a nice little special that we did on there where we just praised the heck out of that woman because it was so much fun. If you guys can get like a hold of these matches, like follow GCW on YouTube or subscribe to their stuff, get those videos. Like, top notch quality Japanese wrestling for this lady right here. That being said, though, we have to use this to segue into your topic, my friend. So
Yeah.
take her away.
I was like, we're gonna do like WWE. We're gonna have two main events today.
Mhm.
One of them being the LuFisto interview. um,
Yeah.
for those that haven't seen it, if you go to Fightful's webpage, they had a interview with LuFisto about her recent comments about AEW. In the said interview, she was clarifying more about what she meant by her tweets in AEW. Um, she meant something along the lines of like, I'm trying to see if they had it here, but I don't think they do. She was talking about like, oh, you're basically supporting like your favorites that kind of don't have like a good attitude, um, and things along those lines. So I thought that was super interesting. So they had the interview first with her, and in the interview, she talks about what her experience was like backstage when she was doing a match for AW Dark at the time. A lot of people were trying to connect the dots for her initial tweet, and they kept thinking, "Oh, she's talking about Brit because it's always Brit." Which I get that understanding of like people are always blaming Brit because she's like, even though she's not the champion, she feels like the face of the women's division because
Mhm.
she's the one that's been there from the beginning. And I thought it was interesting because she obviously didn't say any names. So then people started going back to Cage Match, the website, and looking up when was the last time LuFisto was on AEW, and they figured out she was in a six-person tag, and Britt Baker wasn't a part of the match. So people were like, oh, so it wasn't Britt though. So it must have been somebody within the match from the AEW side. And people started saying, oh, it's probably not Sky Blue. She's like brand new, so we definitely don't see her kind of going that route. And then that's when the target started going on to Ruby Soho instead because she was the, I would say, like the veteran of the team and the like really person that's really on AW on a weekly basis at this point. Um, so it started out like that, and her tweet read, "It's cute how people blame booking for a bad women's division. Talent with too much power, talent denigrating each other, talent trash talking potential employees so they never get in as soon as they walk in. It starts here." And they call you French Canadian asshole. So she talks about that experiences there as well. For that particular experience, she mentioned how Dustin was one of those people that I guess said that particular name not only to her but to Evil Uno. Evil Uno said, "I'm French Canadian, so I'm not an asshole either." So it just in that part it did disappoint me in Dustin though because Dustin's always preaching about positivity on his Twitter account and about being nice to other people. So I thought I was like, this doesn't really go with what we see online from you, which just really interesting to me in that aspect. But it just basically to describe in other words, so I don't have to read the whole interview. The best way I can describe it, she basically described the locker room being kind of like a high school cliche. We have certain people on one side, the other people on the other side, people not talking to each other, people gossiping about each other, and they get quiet as soon as you pass by, and kind of like people mocking each other and people like wondering like who the heck are you and things like that. um it just made me realize back of why I initially said, because I wrote an article with Body Slam Net, I think about a week ago at this point, about the AW women's division. And I was inspired because I kept thinking I have AW mostly in the background to see when the women come on what I'm actually reading and doing other things. So I brought up points of like we get the women are actually on a weekly basis. We only get one match in one kind of segment, whether it's interview or in ring promo or anything like that. and it usually happens between 9 and 9:30 Eastern. That's about it. After that, the women are gone from the show, so they don't open the show. They don't main event. They usually kind of like in the middle, basically, if you think about it. So I brought up points like that because not too long ago, for the Death Before Dishonor Ring of Honor pay per view, we had Athena versus Willow main eventing for the championship, and I kept thinking, why don't we get that in AEW? Like, I get it's not gonna happen all the time, but I think when the story does call for it, like for Athena and Willow, we should get a main event for the women like that too. And it just, I want the women to get more opportunities. I also brought up the point that like the guys had the blood and guts match, the girls didn't get one. And I know like probably a lot of people are thinking, oh, because Jamie Hayter should have been in there, but she's injured. And I get that point, but at the same time, they could have had multiple other people on the face side. Other people that the Outcasts have attacked could have been on the face side to go against them in a blood and guts match. And I think that would have been great to make history for the women. And I brought up a few points, and I put up obviously a disclaimer at the top. Look, I'm an AEW fan. I'm not somebody that just being a hater, trash talking for the fan of, for for fun or anything like that. I'm a fan, and this is what I would like to see more because I think the girls could do better than this. Um, like from your side, I know you don't watch AEW, but what's your take when when you see the interview? Because I sent you the link to the interview. I know you read it too, but it's just like, what's your point of view first when you think about the LuFisto interview? Her comments of like the whole locker room kind of environment, atmosphere that you've seen.
Yeah, I have to be careful with this one. My goodness.
Yeah.
Um, as someone who used to date a wrestler, and I was never backstage because, in my personal opinion, if you're a spouse or a significant or something, your place is not backstage. Backstage is where the boys and gals who are working, who are being paid by the company, that's where they belong. Your job as the partner is to be out in the crowd supporting your partner. So I can't account for the things that said or happened in the locker rooms, but like in other places, I can attest that the shit talking is something that's always going to happen, regardless if it's
Mhm.
wrestling, if it's office work, if it's city work. Heck, if you're homeless, it's probably going to happen. It's just going to happen at a sidewalk or something. But like, the shit talking is something that happens, and that two-faced Jekyll and Hyde thing, where it's like, 1 second you're talking shit about someone over here, and the next minute you're shaking their hand and asking how their family's doing. I feel like that's going to happen everywhere and at every level,
Mhm.
regardless. So I don't not believe her on that one, if that makes sense. Like, I do believe she probably saw some shit and she heard some shit. Some shit was probably said. Um, do I believe it was to the extent that it's the completely vile way that she made it seem? Probably not. But again, I'm not in there, so I don't really know. Um, so you just because again, I don't watch the product. They're only getting one match. Like, what is it, a 2 hour show? Is it a 3 hour show?
Yeah, it's usually the matches about 10 minutes or less to say usually, and then right after or before the match is when you get either like a backstage interview and a backstage attack or like an in-ring promo, like something happening after the match. That's about it. And then it just, I'm like, I understand, and I that's why I started my article more than anything, going back to the beginning.
Mhm.
I went back and I remember still how this happened. I just wanted to link it so that people would know what I was talking about within the article. But I
Mm.
linked the press conference when AEW was introduced in 2019. And with this press conference, Britt is the first female signee for the company. And she says that she's like, I'm the first signee, not only for the women, but I'm along amongst one of the first few signees for AEW that we have here as a whole. And she's like, yeah, they're prioritizing women's wrestling. It's one of the priorities. And I kept thinking, is it though? Because from what you've seen on TV, that's not a reflection of what you're saying is not a reflection of what's happening. And I
Mhm.
get that at first, like you have the first couple months that you don't have a lot of talent. I get that, and I know that at the same time they got hit with the pandemic, so they had a limit on the people that could be participating and in itself in the show. Get that, but it's been 4 years, 4 years, and we still get the same thing. So it's like it's time for a change. And then not only that, but one thing that always like I kept in my head is they always said AEW is supposed to be an alternative to WWE. So to me, if you want to be an alternative to obviously having WWE as your competition, you should try to outdo your competition, not do the same thing you're doing. You want to gain what the audience that they're losing by the mistakes they're making and capitalize on that. Like
Mhm.
at least for like I said, for example, and to tie it up with our second main event, as I wanted to say, like AW had the woman main eventing this past episode. It was our 200th episode. They had Sheeta going against Tony for the women's championship. Sheeta wins the match, and it was the main event. And then, ironically, we get reports, you know, the last few days of getting Rhea being champion and not being booked in SummerSlam, one of the biggest pay per views that WWE has on a yearly basis. And then we get on top of that, Trish versus Becky not being booked for SummerSlam either. So I feel like this week per se, they did capitalize on the mistakes that we are doing because they're like, we're gonna put the
Mhm.
woman to main event when you're not putting the woman on your card. But that only happens this time around. I wanted to happen more often. Uh,
Mhm.
as Corey is saying, Corey and I have been talking a lot about this too. It's holy cannoli. What a past few days in wrestling media, eh? Yes, sir. It's been just like that. I to put it like that and to put up the curtain a little bit. Corey's the one that I always send my articles to before I post them. He's the one that proofreading them, so I give him credit for helping me the way he does. He does help me find my voice a lot in my articles. So I know he saw my article before I posted it. So I was expecting a lot of like haters to respond to my article. I really was not expecting all the love and attraction that it got. At this point, if you go back to the tweet itself, the original one from Body Slam, it has over I think 37K views on it right now, and that's just views on it. I'm like, I can't see them. I don't know if Cassidy can tell me later, maybe how many people have actually gone to the page in itself to read the article. And I could tell by the positive messages of people that have actually read the article because I had a couple of trolls, but I can tell they didn't read the article because they didn't go into detail into what I discussed. But
Mhm.
that's what I've been sending him the tweets about what's happening with the girls because today, to give an update on this particular story, we had I think today a little bit earlier ago a few of the women from the AW locker room comment on LuFisto's comments now.
Mhm.
Um, LuFisto tweeted, I believe it was yesterday. Double checking here. Yeah. She said, had a 1 hour phone call with current AW talent. The women who actually addressed the problems I did today were the ones sent home by Tony Khan. There was a meeting to shoot on Thunder Rosa that Khan attended. Before leaving, he reminded that their segments were the lowest. I wonder why. And then when the girls arranged a meeting to talk about Breaker's crew, one of them ran to Britt to let her know the girls that wanted to address the problem were the ones punished. Things didn't get better, I guess is what she means. They got worse. The legitimate wrestlers believe Tony Khan doesn't give a damn about women's wrestling and feel like they're going back to the Divas era. Ask me who the F I am. Tell me I'm irrelevant, that I'm doing this for attention. Call me a liar. Tell me to unalive myself, to put it like that. To keep on closing eyes and supporting the human beings with shitty behavior. But the messages of support, especially this phone call I received from the AW employees, this nobody did the right thing. And to put it up today, Fivefold themselves have put it together an article with the tweets from the ladies. So we have Taya has responded, Ty Mello responded, even MJF himself has responded, Saraya, Nyla Rose, Renee, Madison Ray, Kayla Sparks, who has been in multiple AW shows, I think AW Dark as well, and we have Nicole Matthews too, just mostly supporting Ruby and just putting over Ruby how she is as a sweetheart as well, which is one thing that I also understand from this argument is like not everybody's going to like you. So it's like if I guess I understand from that point of view, it would be like kind of like rubbed off with Lufisto the wrong way. I get that point because that happens like as a whole with human beings, with everybody and anybody. So to me,
Mhm.
there's nothing surprising about that part. What are your thoughts like overall on like this hot mess at this point?
The first word that came to my mind was children, children, children. Come on. We're all adults here. It was a very interesting thing though with the who was tweeting about it. It's obviously the people who are closer to this person. It's one of those sus moments, don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious. That being said though, it does it puts for me, I'm on this thing where it's like LuFisto could be telling the truth, and these people are just tweeting their stuff to like do damage control or what have you, because LuFisto isn't signed with AEW. They are. They have the risk to be missing out on money, losing contracts, etc., TV time, whatever. Um, but on the other hand, like, what if she's telling the truth? you know, and that this is a different kind of manipulative damage control that isn't really kind of, it's one of those things where I don't know if we'll actually know the truth about what's kind of going on with this situation. Only those kind of intimately involved are going to know those kind of sort of details with this. But the the things that are happening, that you're saying that are happening on AEW, because again, I don't watch it, they they don't seem to be lining up with LuFisto is lying, if that makes sense. It seems to be lining up a little bit more with the LuFisto might be telling more of the truth than a lie here. But at the same time, again, like as I said, we won't, I don't think, actually know what's going on. And unfortunately, she said that people were being punished and sent home and stuff. Is that, do we know if that's factual? Does she have anything to back that up?
Yeah, that's one of the parts that I read. I don't know what part she means by that, because she's something about like, people were sent home, and that Tony Khan saying that their severance were the lowest. I was like, I don't know. I don't have specifics about that part of it. And I was curious about that too. But it
Mm-hmm.
just made me think of like, at the same time, I feel like both things can be true, like I said, because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like everybody has different experiences. So her experience could be
100%.
true, but the people in the locker room could also have that positive experience because they've
Mm-hmm.
been there for a while. They've been there for a couple months. Not like how that she came in and that was it. But
Mm-hmm.
when you come in, you don't know what people have said about you beforehand versus like they can team up with each other and support each other because they see each other on a weekly
Mm-hmm.
basis too. So just another thing that I necessarily don't like about the tweets is like they keep preaching or like saying in other words like, oh no, we have like a supported locker room and we support women, but then you're going against what she's saying. So you're not really supportive of women as a whole because you're going against LuFisto, and some of them could be like kind of sending backlash towards her because of it. But I know she's kind of sending it to herself as well,
Mm-hmm.
because AW has a huge fan base at this point. So it's like people are gonna come at you as trolls, and so you're gonna get
Mm-hmm.
that end of it as well. That's what I'm saying. Is like there's so many things that can go hand in hand with both groups. So it's kind of hard to just say like, oh, Lufisto's right or the locker room's right. I feel like I'm the kind of person like I'm standing in the middle, and like you saying, it's like we see one thing in social media, but we don't know what behind the scenes is like. So,
Mm-hmm.
it could be that what she said is true, but what they're saying is true as well because they're there every single week and they're like, hey, we want the division to do better and they support each other. So they might be cheering on each other and supporting on each other because they know they're permanent people in the locker room versus
Mm-hmm.
like they're probably not the same kind of people with visitors are coming in like it is with LuFisto at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And as Corey's saying, I did have this experience. He's like, my favorite was the dude who tried to disagree on threats and basically made the same point you did in the article. And you said, well, yeah, that's what the article's about. I'm still cracking up. I forgot what the response was exactly, but he told me in other words, he's like, yeah, they need like kind of more time. And like he made it seem like he was arguing against me. And I'm like, that's what the article's about if you read it. So if you give me that kind of response, it shows that you really read it. So, um, but it just,
Yes.
yeah, I expected that. I was, as Corey knows, like me mentally, I was getting mentally prepared of like, I kept thinking, I'm going to publish it and not even look at my phone, just talk to like my friends and the people that I know. And then I kept thinking, I'm just going to, even though I'm going to see them because they're in the quote tweets, I'm just going to ignore them and not think about them because they don't know who I am as a person.
Mhm.
But there's some of them you can tell they didn't read the article because they're like, yeah, you want more, but then they don't have anybody built up or anything like that. I'm like, exactly, that's what I'm saying. They don't have anybody built up, so you didn't read the article that I wrote.
Mhm.
Uh, and I think another thing that I liked about the article is that it's the first time that I reached out to fans that I have seen, like female fans that I've seen speak up about this on their Twitter account. So like Kirsten Ashley, who's part of PWI and Bells to Bells, I reached out to her and I was like, hey, I know you tweeted in the past about AEW and your frustrations about the division. So it's like, can you give me a quote about it? And I like how the quotes perfectly fit with what I was saying in the article as well.
Mhm.
And even like if you haven't joined it up, I can definitely send have an invite or tell Haley. But Haley from Fight for Overbooked made a little Discord for writers in wrestling media to kind of get together and help each other and boost each other's posts. And I had Samantha and Liz from the group who actually gave me quotes about their point of view as a fan as well. So it definitely helped out with the piece and that aspect of it. I feel like they fit so perfectly with the narrative that I had in mind already. I feel like I had such a straight thing to it. So it's definitely like it's my second piece of body slam, and it's incredible. Think about like I was scared of writing it, and I remember messaging Cass, and I told Cass like, "Hey, I'm scared mostly because of the trolls about it, because I know the trolls are gonna end up in the body slam net account because you guys are posting the article, but also because I don't want to burn any bridges before between the platform and AEW." And
Mhm.
he goes, "Write about whatever you want, write about whatever you're feeling. Like, I got your back." um Once I posted it, and then he gave me feedback on the traction the article got. He just told me, he's like, I knew the people that know you and me and like the platform will support it and will bring out the positive parts about the article, and it
Mhm.
will outweigh the negative ones. And I was going to say, well, you were correct, because I had like maybe five trolls and the rest of them were good positive
Mhm.
tweets. And it was incredible to see other people that are like, yes, everything you wrote, it's exactly what we're thinking. And I think that now do have kind of like a part two to it with WWE, as you see by the title here. We have two hashtags in the title today of the name of the episode. So it's hashtag we want equality, hashtag WWE women deserve better, and this also ties up with the AW topic as well. That's why I said it. We had two main events.
Oh,
um,
yes.
for those of you that haven't really been tuning into that part of it, uh, I know that Trish versus Becky is something that has building up kind of since WrestleMania happened. So at this point, it's since April. And I remember back in April and even the last couple months when their first match happened, that it was so short. I remember hearing people from the community going, "Let it play out." Those famous words, "Let it play out," and let it happen. And it's okay because at SummerSlam they'll have their match and it'll be their big match to end the feud and everything. I'm like, okay, I don't agree with you, but we'll wait and see what happens. And then we get the news that due to time constraints, Treasures Becky will not be part of the SummerSlam card this weekend. That's the first thing. So it's just disappointing that we have somebody of the caliber of Becky Lynch and a Hall of Famer in Trish, who's returning for at least a couple months to do something with the girls and the current talent, and to be treated this way. I was like, I think about it first this from this point. If Brock Lesnar returned, there's no way he would not be on the SummerSlam card, because you have that such a big name that you put him on the card. So how come that doesn't happen with Trish? So that's the first thing I thought about. So tell me, it was like, what is your point of view as somebody who doesn't watch the product when you think about Trish versus Becky being off the card to begin with?
I'm taking a little back to the time where I was at a like a local show, and they had 8 matches on the card, and they like didn't have enough guys or something. I don't know what it was. They had 8 matches, and they had one faction that had 4 guys on it, and each of these guys had a singles match. And the entire faction came out with the guy every time. Half of the show was this stupid faction, and they weren't even a good faction. So I bring that up because
Yeah.
I look how many matches are on SummerSlam?
I believe it was eight, but I can double check on that. Let me see. But I think it's about eight. No, is it six matches?
We'll say
Let me just go on the
tentatively
website.
8.
Yeah, I can just go on it and count while you keep talking, so I don't disrupt you.
So tentatively 8, and we have how many official women's matches?
Mm,
1,
We have
2,
two. So we
2.
have Oscar versus Becky, Oscar versus Charlotte versus Bianca for the SmackDown Women's Championship,
Okay, so
and then we
triple
have
threat. Okay.
Ronda versus Shayna, an MMA rules match. I know this came out of left field for you. Long story short, Shayna turned on Ronda during the tag match when they lost the women's championships.
Oh, I saw these promos. Yes.
Yeah, and these promos, I love the video packages though. They're like right on point, detailed, chef's kiss to whoever decided to do them,
Mhm.
because it definitely goes back to like Shayna going, "You came in and this was built for you because you got the WrestleMania match, but I'm the one that's been like basically busting her butt like wrestling for a while. You just came in here and they put
Hmm.
you up to like these kind of big angles and big matches because of your name. And she's like, I got tired of being in your shadow and being in the backseat, and I want to take over that. So this
Hmm.
is supposed to be Ronda's last match in WWE. Hence why it's
Okay.
happening with Shayna. This is what they both wanted to happen. So those are the two women's matches on the card.
Time constraints my ass. WWE, if you want to like manipulate things around and cut things down, you can cut things down. That's the beauty of you being a multi-million billion dollar fucking thing that you are. Um and Shayna and Ronda, that whole thing started after Trish and Becky, correct? Or before? After.
After, yeah.
After.
Yes.
All right. Okay, one more question. Um Back when I was actually playing the WWE game and stuff like that, typically in manager mode or whatever, feuds lasted 2, maybe 3 months at most. Correct? Am I correct about that? Is
Yeah,
that
more or less.
template still appropriate in professional wrestling today, or is that just out the window now?
It's like a yes and no because they have moments of like, yeah, they do have a few kind of like Trish and Becky who's building up since Mania. So you do have kind of like they have one match, the heel wins, so they keep going with that chase of the face wanting that victory, and then that's when people started going, oh yeah, they have the match at WrestleMania, and Becky's gonna win, and then Trish is gone. That was
Mhm.
basically the narrative from the community. Um, so like, and then there's one, so like Becky and Becky, I keep thinking of Becky, Ronda and Shayna, that just basically started like probably like a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months, I would say perhaps. So just like it hasn't been going on for that long.
Hmm. Hmm. I don't know how many male wrestlers are employed currently at WWE versus the female, but to me that just seems off. If we got 8 matches, only 2 of them are women's. I don't like that. We can do better. We could have 3. We could have 4. There's I'm sure there's certain matches on the male card that we don't need that aren't SummerSlam worthy and could be on the Raw or SmackDown or whatever. Um, mm, I don't
Oh,
like
I had a
that.
good guess. It was 8 matches. So we have Romer versus Jey Uso. It's a trial combat for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship.
Okay, that
Cody
one's
versus Brock
important.
Lesnar. That it's non-title. World Heavyweight Championship. Seth versus Balor. That you saw the poster off earlier. And then,
Mm-hmm.
like I mentioned, Oscar versus Charlotte versus Bianca. SmackDown
Okay.
Women's Championship. Basically, it's called WWE Women's Championship now.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Gunther versus Drew Intercontinental Championship.
Okay.
Ricochet versus Logan, the MMA rules, Ronda versus Shayna, and then last minute they included the SummerSlam Battle Royal presented by Slim Jim, which is the one that I argued that it could be on the kickoff and they could have had one women's match right there. And the part that bothers
100%.
me, the part that bothers me is like, oh, you have two women's matches on the card, and I was like, does it have to be a limit on them? I don't think so. I don't have to be satisfied with two of them.
Are they gonna have a giant freaking Slim Jim running around ringside? Because I'm really starting to get sick and
I'm afraid
tired
that
of
that's
these
gonna
stupid
happen.
mascot things.
And it's another thing. Okay, if you have a SummerSlam Battle Royal for the guys, you couldn't have both on the pre-show, one for the guys, one for the girls, because the girls don't have one.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. It's not a vibe. And mind you, I mean, you know how I feel about the Trish Stratus Becky feud as it is. It's just not something that I personally wanted to see, though I know the fans are definitely kind of eating it up. Um, yeah, it feels like they're stretching this one out a little unnecessarily. And that this should be kind of wrapped up in here. I feel like those battle royals also go like insanely and obnoxiously long,
Yeah,
in a house of torture kind of way, not in a wee kind of way. So you could probably split something like that up into 2 or even maybe 3 matches, which I would maybe prefer, or even like 2 good solid matches and a good promo gimmick part or
yeah.
something. Yeah, I don't also like the idea of battle royals or Royal Rumbles or stuff like that happening later within the show unless it's the Royal Rumble show.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
like I
another
said,
thing is like if you think about it, if it had, for example, if it was advertised like, oh, the winner will get a title shot for this title, I get
mhm,
that because it has something to value to it. But I don't know, it's just because it's Slim Jim and that's it. That's the advertiser. And it just,
the
I
winner
know it
gets to
go,
spear the mascot. That would be the only reason I would like that at this
but it
point.
doesn't have like a price to it. You just win it, and I'm like, hey, I want the SummerSlam Battle Royal, which is I'm like, okay. It just
Well, then what are you gonna do? Walk around with a bouquet of freaking Slim Jims for the rest of the year?
no, like nobody really knows what's up to it. That's another thing too. It's like it's not even clarified. It's like Corey saying they should bring back the pre-show, have the Slim and Jimmy Battle Royal and Ricochet versus Logan Paul on there to make room for Evelyn Stacks. I think the only reason why I get Logan Paul not being on the pre-show would be because he's a big name
Sponsors. Yeah.
and they want the big name on the big show to get people going. But another thing that made me laugh too is that even Trish, so the Trish versus Becky got changed to the show in Canada. So Trish tweeted, checking to see if I'm even available on the 14th for the Monday Night Raw show. And she goes, and Adam Pierce, Winnipeg is not my home field advantage. I'm from Toronto, you idiot, because that's where the show is happening. And he said, well, she's gonna have the home field advantage because it's there. And she
Mm.
and but it's just funny seeing that too. And then he responded back to her, Adam Pierce. Let me see. Okay, he said, "You're Canadian, and last I checked, Winnipeg is in Canada, but they'll probably boo you too. Love, idiot."
You probably would, yeah.
But I find it funny when she says that too, because it goes back to like the Jericho. I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot. But it just when I think about this, it's just so funny when she's like, it's not even my home field advantage because I'm not from there though. And I didn't expect her to tweet that, but it's just so funny to think about. But even like based on their social media, especially from their Instagram, Trish is not happy that she came back to not get that SummerSlam match, and
Mm,
Becky either. And I have also seen people have noticed the tweets that Rhea has been liking. So going to like Rhea's Twitter account because she's a champion on Raw right now,
mhm,
and she doesn't have a championship match. And a lot of people, and another thing that bothers me is it's like she is in a faction, and the focus is more on her being a faction than being a champion.
mhm,
Because whenever she has somebody that could be an opponent, she like injures them and they don't get to challenge her. And I
mhm,
feel like this could have been Raquel's spot with her, and they could have had that match, but then they injured her on Raw, so she doesn't get to have the match. So first thing is, there was an article here from okay. So it's tweeted from the W Public Relations Twitter account, and it goes, check out Incel's article where W Women's World Champion Rhea Ripley gives fans a rare behind the scenes look at her SummerSlam glam. Rhea retweets it and goes, SummerSlam media appearance look for reasons we all know of because she's not going to be in SummerSlam. But they advertised it this way. And even today, she posted a selfie and she goes, ready for some media because she's not part of SummerSlam. And she has been
and I'm just
liking,
gonna flat out say that that picture was not media appropriate because she was not wearing pants.
oh, you noticed that, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I did. You know who I also noticed is not wearing pants?
Ew.
Or who is wearing pants and shouldn't be.
Of
Continue.
course you noticed. I'm trying to see if I find them, but she has been liking tweets about not being on the card in itself. And
Mm,
then somebody had posted a graphic saying, we have Somerset with no Trish, no Becky, no Rhea. And Rhea liked it as if she's not happy that she's not part of it either. Like her being champion, she doesn't get to be a
mm,
part of this. So it's very frustrating on her and as well, not being able to be a champion, not being on the card there either.
mhm,
And it just like I understand the time constraints and things like that, but I'm like, it's SummerSlam. It's one of the biggest pay per views WWE has, so I feel like they could have made changes here and there to make it happen. And I think there was another one that she said something along the lines of like obviously not being satisfied with not being on the card, and then people are like, look, she's second tweets supporting this part of it, and I don't want to say idea, but like this story that she's not part of it. But she's also another thing that was is like, oh, she's not part of the card, but she still had to travel there to do media to promote a show she's not gonna be at. And it's like, that's just it bothers me, and it's just like I feel bad at the same time because when you're a champion, you just want to have those kind of matches to like I said, like Trish and Becky to like close up that chapter and let it be done. But it's
Mhm.
like, and then the narrative was, oh, it's because Trish wants that match to happen there because it's in Canada. How do you know that though? Has she said that? Just because she's Canadian doesn't mean she wants to end her last match in Canada. Maybe she wanted it to be in SummerSlam.
I mean, and technically, she did have her last match in Canada against Lita.
Yeah, she
So
did.
she's kind of already had that shit.
Yeah,
The fact that she's back,
yeah.
you know how Melball feels about that. In regards to Rhea, though, I understand the frustration. Like for me, when I go to these kinds of shows, that's what I want to see. I want to see championships being defended. And she's definitely what I would consider a fighting champion. She clearly, like, every time she gets into the ring, you can tell how much she loves what it is that she's doing. Um, so yeah, and I have noticed also on like social media, like I obviously follow wrestling and all that, but in regards to like North American wrestling, the two things that I see the most of are Rhea Ripley and Tony Storm
Mm-hmm.
and Jamie Hayter for obvious reasons. But
Yeah.
yeah, Rhea Ripley, people who like my one of my best friends, Michelle, she hates professional wrestling. I made the mistake of bringing her to a couple indie shows and they traumatized her. And
Oh,
yeah, but she knows who Rhea Ripley is, and she's got a girl crush on Rhea Ripley. So it's like
yeah,
even people who don't know wrestling know who people like Rhea Ripley are. So the
yeah.
fact that you're not capitalizing on one of your most marketable and potentially profitable, arguably profitable, like I'm isn't her mommy shirt pretty popular on that shop?
Yeah, and at this point, she's so popular, even just on TikTok, to the point that the mayor had a TikTok account to like react to what people are doing to her on, like doing with like her edits and her things on TikTok because they noticed how popular she was. And like I
Mhm.
said, it just one thing that I also haven't liked about it is like she's in a faction with guys. So obviously we have the three guys, one girl, but then she has been more their muscle at this point than anything.
Mhm.
So you kind of lose focus to the fact that she's the champion because she's more of like their backup in that sense of it.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's like I don't want that to get lost. She's the champion. You
No.
don't want people to forget about that. And this goes back to the
Mhm.
hashtags we have here on the top. It's just the hashtags started trending now on Twitter. The hashtags we want equality, and then the hashtags of Debbie Woman Deserve Better have been trending on Twitter
Mhm.
because of what's happening. It's just like it just at a point that I feel like it started with AEW, and like WWE lately has been in the same trend as AEW. They haven't had the woman in the same time frame. Thank God, but
Mhm.
we've had 3 to 5 minute matches, not a lot of story progressions. We have another thing that for example, everybody that knows me and has if you're on my YouTube channel, you know about it. On my Twitch, Ed and I talk about NXT on a weekly basis. And one thing that we both praise NXT for is the fact that we get two women's matches on a 2 hour show, sometimes three. We get multiple segments, whether they're interviews, in ring promos, attacks, anything like that. And at that point, by the end of the show, you have seen, I don't want to say everybody, but like more than half of the roster in 1 or 2 hour show. And we also have people like Impact, who I know Impact has their weeks here and there, but Impact showcases at least two women's matches per night in multiple segments. They just don't do it on a certain time frame. They do it throughout the show. The women open, the women close, the women are in the middle. They change it over on just like NXT does. So I feel like I don't understand how WWE doesn't learn from NXT in that aspect and does the same kind of, I don't want to say trend, but like the same kind of routine of having things changed around often to like get
Mhm.
more eyes on them. And I don't understand that. It's like, how do you have the same company, but you get treated differently if you're on the main roster versus NXT? Because it's just frustrating how you have a 3 hour show and you have one woman's match and it's like 5 minutes. And I know it's not going to be entirely equal because there's more guys on the roster than girls, but you want more than that time that we're actually getting right now. And what I don't like is like it's kind of going over to what AW is doing at this point, and I really don't like
Mhm.
that.
I asked because again, I haven't heard about it and I don't know. Is Hunter still doing the production on the pay-per-views and Raw, or are we seeing this stuff because things are starting to smell like old man and dementia again?
Well, the old man had to get some kind of surgery recently, so apparently he's apparently
Godspeed.
resting, and so it's supposed to be Triple H mostly in charge of creative, and I don't know who else, but at this point,
Because like based
I
on
don't
what you're
like it.
saying, it doesn't sound Triple H-y anymore. It sounds
Mhm.
Vincey.
Yep, I felt the same way, but I don't know who's there behind the scenes at this point. I can tell it's not somebody like Shawn Michaels who's taking care of his girls in NXT right now.
Hmm.
So uh, I really don't know what's going on at that end of it. And just so
Hmm.
frustrated because I said it. I started saying it on Taking Over on Tuesday. We have one step forward and three steps back. We had the women main eventing and the women having this like history making moments when we had the four horsewomen on the main roster and like
Hmm.
having the first women's rumble and the first women's this and that. And I feel like it just fell now out of the all of a sudden. And it's like, for example, we had another thing. We had Chelsea Green and Sonia winning the women's championships, and that was a great moment. Don't get me wrong, I love having them win, but they have nobody really built up to challenge them right now. And I
Wait,
think
they're
like
champions?
the other champions right now, they
Oh,
won.
see, I didn't even know.
I think it was this Monday that they won them, if I'm not mistaken. I know my days are kind
I
of off
follow
lately, so
WWE and WWE and NXT, and I didn't even know that. Huh.
yeah.
Gotta recheck that.
So that's what I think about it. It's like another thing that they don't have people really build up to challenge them, which is another thing with the continuity of the story. It's like there's no stories making
Mhm.
progression there. And I feel like we could have used a women's tag team match on the pre-show. I get that it's not going to be on the main card, but I think that would have been an interesting one to see on the pre-show as well. But
Mm,
that's what bothers me about it is like the potential that we could have had two, maybe three women's matches on one card,
mm,
and we're getting two. And it just like to me, it shouldn't be a quota for you to fill. It should be like the story counts for it. Let's make it happen and just make it
mhm,
happen. And it doesn't mean like, hey, we have one women's match and that's fine. That's it. No, there
mhm.
shouldn't have to be a limit on it to me. And I also wanted to share these. And if you haven't yet, I can share them on Twitter and any other like social media platform you follow me. But these are the graphics that have been being used now for the kind of like we say like campaign of like the we want equality, and then we want the every woman deserve better campaign with the women to promote and to highlight that we want more for them versus what they're getting right now. We have so many women that haven't been part of the show in weeks now, and sometimes we see them one week and not the other one, and it's a 3-hour show, so I think they could do better at balancing that sort of thing
Mhm.
and portray more the women on a weekly basis. But yeah, we had like even people like Chelsea, Sonia. And I'm like, Isla, Isla and Alba. They just lost the women's tag team championships, and they haven't been seen on TV ever since. And just like,
What?
yeah. So how do you have those women on the roster? Call them up and then don't
Didn't they
use them.
just form them on NXT?
Yeah, they had them on NXT for like what, a month or two.
Man, that curse. I don't know what it is about that NXT curse, but man, we got to get that ish figured out and break it because, like, we've been
Yeah,
losing a lot of great, talented wrestlers to that NXT curse. Come
yeah,
on now. Like, you gained a great amount of them, but,
yeah,
like, mm,
yeah.
fix it.
But yeah, even you, like as we like to say, you as an outsider because you don't watch the shows, but
Mm,
it's nice to see also your point of view on the sort of thing when you think about like it's frustrating and exhausting to be asking for something that we asked for years ago when
mm.
we had the hashtag that we give us a chance. That was when the Bella twins were there, and
The
Paige was sort of
revolution
there still.
happened.
Yeah, and then we had the revolution, and that's what they called up the four horsewomen because they wanted to give us that change. And I feel
Mm,
like for a while they had a good pacing with what was happening. We had moments with, you know, so many moments with the four horsewomen having the first like Hell in a Cell, first the tag team championships now, first elimination chamber, first rumble,
mm,
and first for so many, and it just like I feel like they were going on a good steady pace there, and all of a sudden we just went. and I don't know what happened. I really don't. It's like you have the talent there. That's another thing that's frustrating. It's like if I would understand it if you didn't have the talent there and you had like five girls on your show, but you have so many women and you have called up so many during the draft as well that it just like if it was me, I'd rather be in NXT and at least get on the show on a weekly basis than be in the main roster right now.
Mhm, mhm,
And it's just frustrating as a fan to see the women getting called up, not getting used, or like I said, it's like you see them for like there's weeks that you don't see them. When I feel like there could be more rotation of like we see them one week and not the other one, and you can at least see them almost on a weekly basis, like close enough
mhm,
to it. And like I said, I
mhm,
know it's not going to be exactly equal to guys because we have a 3 hour show, and then there's going to be more guys than girls on the roster, but. I feel like they could benefit from having at least two women's matches on different time frames, not put them
mhm,
in a row, have them last at least 10 to 15 minutes. Like that's something that we want to happen. And it's just frustrating at this point to see this
mhm.
happening. But if you haven't yet, I retweeted it. So you can definitely use these graphics because we definitely want to keep raising awareness to this um, going on. Oh, as we have here, it's random Rick reviews RRR. And yeah, what are they doing with Indie Hartwell? Yeah, it just she's one of them that she got called up. She was in the number one contenders match with Candice LeRae. They teamed up. They lost pretty quickly, and then we haven't seen them ever since. So
It's that curse, that NXT curse.
I don't get it.
Um, Something that I also kind of like that NJPW does is they do kind of like different tours. So like there's going to be certain tours right now. We're not seeing any of the juniors because the juniors just had their tour, so we didn't see any of the heavyweights really during that one. It gives the wrestlers time to do this thing called resting, recuperating injuries, which some of them probably don't do. You can see some of them still come back with tape and stuff because they decided to go train or something instead or whatever. But it gives them a couple weeks of downtime to
Yeah,
do stuff that they want to do. It would be nice to kind of see the WWE do something like that. Like have a, this
kind of like
tour
a
and you're going to
season.
see
Yeah.
this set of wrestlers while this set of wrestlers are doing a different thing. And
Hmm.
like, then they switch it up or maybe someone's good to work a good couple of months and they can work the couple of months and then they take a couple weeks off. Like there's no reason why they can't do something like that. Don't understand why the tour dates and stuff and traveling and stuff are the way they are. Hope maybe they're getting better. I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing less complaining about it. Either that or people are just getting more conditioned to it. I don't know. We'll see how
Yeah.
it goes in the future.
Yeah, it's just at this point is just frustrating to see things that should have been happening at this point. Is that we had that happen so many years ago. We trended the hashtag, give divas a chance, and then it made some drastic changes
Hmm.
in the women's division there. But it's like I said, right now you do have the talent, you have the people that that could be doing so much more than what they're doing, and it's
Smells
just
like dementia.
not working out. It really is not. So just um,
Smells like dementia.
fortunately. Barry, we have Barry here. They could easily
Yay.
have a Raw 2 weeks followed by a two SmackDown 2 weeks and a quiet month. It's like I feel like they could have some kind of rotation to it.
Mhm.
Random here. Biggest crime I saw past few years when they buried Ember Moon. That's another one. And look at Athena
Another
now.
NXT
Another
curse.
yeah. I was like I know there's moments of like they find their place, and I feel like right now she's found her place as a Ring of Honor Women's Champion, and I love that she's getting highlighted so often there on a weekly
Hmm.
basis. And she got the main event with Willow. That was amazing to watch, and I'm glad she's getting that kind of thing. Like you said, she's killing it right now, and yeah, she is. It just you see her there on a weekly basis. I think she's becoming such a foundation, such a staple of Ring of Honor.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like I would have liked it that happen in the main roster when she got called up, but at the same time, I see it also as a blessing in disguise because she
Hmm.
has a good moment there in Ring of Honor right now, and she's
Hmm.
doing great, and she's had so many opponents. She's winning the championship. At this point, I lost count on how many times she has defended the championship, whether it's like Ring of Honor or
Good.
like a pay-per-view. But
I like to hear.
she's doing better now, and she's one of the few women in AEW / Ring of Honor that I see getting kind of built up very often. That you see very often. She's really consistent with being on TV there, so that's
Hmm.
something I would like to see. The one thing though that I also have realized with her even though I like having her on Ring of Honor, I noticed that the Ring of Honor champions are more in AWTV. And she's, I think, the only one that I have not seen in AWTV. She's more often in Ring of Honor.
Oh,
Um, as you
hmm.
say, in my opinion, Athena is one of the best in ring talents, men or women. Yeah, I feel like she definitely showed it up. And her and Willow, like their match at Death Before Dishonor. If you haven't watched it, do check it out. There was a main event, so if you want to just skip the rest of it, just watch the main event. I get it. But there's a main event, and I think like not only them showcasing themselves, but what I liked about it one of the things like they paid so many tributes to people that were in Ring of Honor beforehand, to women by doing certain moves in in the pay per view in itself, and just like it was a moment of giving a little bit of history and that nostalgia in a positive way, by also showcasing themselves in this match as well. So I really love what they did here in this match. It's one of those that I'm hoping I can watch it again. I definitely got Honor Club now, so I can go back and kind of check what I missed out on the last couple weeks. I was there for the first Ring of Honor tapings in Orlando recently, but after that, kind of fallen off of it. I watch too much wrestling, so sometimes I don't have time for everything. But I'm glad I got on a club that I can kind of go back and watch that part of it.
Perfect.
But yeah, did you have any other thoughts you wanted to do before we close out on this now at this point?
No, I think I got it all out.
It was that this is what I like about having this show. It just like it feels like a venting session. It's like we talk to
It
each
really
other like
does.
this. Like we this is how we do even just us off screen, like whether it's video chatting or by text. This is how we talk to each
Yeah.
other all the time on a daily basis. So this is just like a one-on-one conversation. So it's um it's nice to be able to do it on screen and talk about topics and people that we like to talk about there too as well.
Mhm.
I'm trying to see who I can raid. Well, I have somebody here that will be an interesting raid, so let's see how this goes. Here we go.
Interesting, right? I'm scared.
I'm just trying to get off the ads real quick so I can make sure I can hear the person before I go over there. Um, but no, thank you for stopping by here. If you want to go back after we're done and go back and check out the beginning of the discussion, that would be cool too. I know you got here towards the end of it, but just to hear our initial thoughts on this. Um, but yeah, I figured I will go along since we're talking about women's wrestling, and I feel like somebody that really supports women's wrestling very often. Just wanted to see my ads cannot leave. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna go and rate Josh Robinson. I know he's definitely one of those people that supports women's wrestling in such a way, and his show, The Legacy of. If you haven't checked that out, just a great way to do so. But before we go and I set up the raid, Mel, where can the people find you on their social media and everything you have going on in the last week or so? I guess.
So much going on this week, let me tell you. If you're wanting to follow a Melball, you can follow her on Twitter at Collins Melball. You can follow her on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Mastodon, and Blue Sky at Melball Collins.
There you
You
go.
can find me on Andre and Melball's Wrestling Talk. It's weird to be doing that instead of doing Astrid Pizarro. You can catch me, sorry, on Andre and Melball's Wrestling Talk. We have been releasing videos pretty much almost every other day since the G1 has started and the 5-star Grand Prix is also now going. I am in a constant state of what feels like a wrestling coma. I'm always watching professional wrestling. My
Yeah, you were.
goodness. Can't complain though. But yeah, you can find that on our YouTube channel, Andrea Melball's Wrestling Talk. You can also catch me on our local establishments programming, Paramindful, every Monday with Alex the Werewolf and the gold standard Carl Karufel. We're going to be recording actually right when I get off of here. We're going to be talking about aliens next week. I'm pretty stoked because the guys know a lot of stuff about that. Yes, we're hoping they want us to live long and prosper because the alternative is probably not so great. But yeah, you want to catch that every Monday at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. And I think that's
um,
it. Yeah, that's it
let's
for
see.
me.
Barry's asking which is the best Twitter alternative. I think the one I like the most so far has been Blue Sky, to be
I
honest.
yeah.
Yeah, and Threads will be my second one, at least for now. For me, you can find me again on Tuesdays doing Taking Over with Ed. We discuss at NXT. If you haven't yet, you can go back to our local establishments because yesterday I was part of Respect Radio with Papa Smokes and Bobby Munson. We started doing our chat about the hashtags that we have above us and talk about women's wrestling there and highlighting it. So it was a great discussion that we had. If you haven't checked that out, you can go back to my Twitter, which is Astrid Pizarro. And that's where I have linked to my article that I did with Body Slam Net as well. If I can find my ticker here, maybe that one. There you go. Twitter and Blue Sky, Astrid Pizarro. My Instagram and Threads is Astrid Pizarro 20. And you haven't gone back, you can definitely go back to my YouTube. On my YouTube, I do have my wrestling media video that I did highlighting what I've done for my second anniversary of wrestling media, taking over past episodes that we done in Ladies Fashion Showcase. If you like today's episode, you can go back and watch the previous ones as well as my series Ashford Ask. I do have anything going on. I'm gonna be uploading some vlogs every now and then on my channel. One of them is gonna be a little bit of the Florida SuperCon, and another one's gonna be like, I guess, behind the scenes into what it's like when I do my writing. I was in the process of writing my NXT review on my Body Slam Net article when I did it, so I'm just giving a little behind the scenes towards that. So if you haven't checked it out, go to my channel and go subscribe if you haven't yet. Um, but yeah, that's about it if I'm not mistaken for me. But yeah, well, over here, let me set this up to do a rate on Josh. So I want to thank everybody that's been here today. If you haven't seen it now, if you get to see it on the VOD, let us know in the comments your thoughts on this, respectfully, of course. Uh, I don't want anybody to discredit us as women because of our opinions. We know, I know men will comment on it, but let us know what you thought about it. Let us know what you think about the situation that's still unfolding at this point. So who knows, if maybe in the next weeks we'll probably have a bigger update when it comes to the story at this point. But
Hmm.
yeah, thank you everybody for just stopping by and having a discussion with us. Hopefully we'll see you guys next time. Bye.